All right. Hi, Brenna. Yeah, I get the whole. It crossed my mind that you were. The internet is forever afraid, and I get that. I don't care for me, and I think a lot of the reason is I genuinely feel I've seen more days than I'm going to see. That's just math. I'm 48, and I don't think I'm going to live to be 90. Not with some of the shit that I've done. Not to mention my mother's the male genetics on my mother's side of the family. My grandfather was my age when he dropped dead of a heart attack. She was about my age when she died of the big C, and I never met a guy on that side of the family that was not part of my generation for a reason. And it's not because they were all in Europe. So I'm not particularly concerned at this point. My son's an adult. I'm the obsolete model. So never having had a real filter in the first place, I really don't have one now. And anyone who knows me knows I am an open book. I am not saying, therefore, you should be. I'm just saying where, as I always say, my head is at. I have not been to Colorado since 1994, and yes, I would love to go there again. My wife, it's one state that we haven't seen. And the funny thing is, it's actually not that far a drive. I drove to see my father-in-law. He couldn't handle the weather in Israel. He was raised near the North Pole. Like, not kidding. I think that's what killed my mother-in-law, who I never met, because going from extreme temperatures, you're more likely to get cancer. She had lung cancer, never smoked in her life. So he's in Canada now. Fascinating stuff with my in-laws. Anyway, so I am still in Arizona, unfortunately. I warned my wife, I'm like, where do you want to end up in the long run? I mean, I still have shit to do in Arizona, but my son's almost grown. Where do you want to go? Well, you live in Arizona, we'll live there. You can't say that yet. You haven't been there yet, not in the summertime. I was stationed in the Negev. And I'm like, yeah, Phoenix is not the Negev. Summer, right after we got married. Oh, a cliche Ashkenazi whining and complaining. Oh, God, it's so hot. How do people live here? And I'm like, I warned you. I thought you were exaggerating. Okay, she doesn't sound like that, but I had to do my Mort Goldman bit. I can't. Anyway, and yeah, you can call me. As a matter of fact, even in real time, I'll just give you my number here. 480-907-9624. There you go. Or I can tell you the thing I keep writing or deleting, and you can hear my thoughts. That's fine too. I don't record my calls. It's interesting interesting backstory. I actually did at one point years ago. I stopped doing it because it was rare. I got ripped off on two occasions from lying salespeople from T-Mobile, who I haven't gone through in years, although I now do because I keep moving and then they buy the bloody company. Anyway, so I wouldn't do that to you even if I did, But again, another one of my side quests in my conversation, which I'm very bad about. You're important enough to me that I didn't immediately block you. I thought at one point you might, because people do that, be over this issue a lot. The good thing is I won't make it to Colorado at the very least, until after the election, and that's good. Tensions are not as high after an election, except maybe in the immediate. They're still there. I mean, I was called a Nazi over less than that. I mean, not only, I hadn't gone through conversion yet. I was not engaged to Katrina yet. I had let go of the idea of becoming Jewish long ago. although I was still very euhetophilic in a lot of ways. It would come out if somebody did something like said something that I knew wasn't true. I would get very, very autistic and screechy. Like somebody not shave and a haircut on you. You're the same generation. I think we were in the theater together when we saw that movie with Roger Rabbit. And then he couldn't help it. You know, boom, that was me in my whole life over Jewish matters, even when I was trying to distance myself from it. But this video is not going to be about that. Yes, so Colorado, we'll talk about that after the election. Well, maybe we'll talk about it before the election. We'll keep it at that, though. I appreciate you saying that. Because, you know, I wasn't sure if you felt that way, because we, like I said in the other video, we barely knew, you know, we knew each other real well as kids and as teenagers, but we didn't know each other after that, you know. And the important parts about our life came after that. So, you know, so I appreciate you saying that. I feel the same way. All right. This is where this is going to get interesting, because I was trying to wasn't trying to avoid any of the more spicy parts of my life, but I wasn't in a big friggin' hurry to tell them either. But these are things that, you know, I talk about when it just kind of naturally happens, as water finds level ground in a conversation. Level ground, here we are. My son is trans. Lillian is Norman, and it's, I think. Okay. The truth is, I'm often the exception. Because I don't get accusative, I don't start, you know, I don't get combative over who someone's voting for. There are things I will. But I don't want to talk about politics here. This is going to be about your son, Lillian is Norman. Oh, female to male. Got some interesting stories on that. I befriended somebody who went female to male. Right? Yeah, okay. Just so you know, that's not going to trigger me, Brenna, and I'm going to tell you why. On the front end, I don't approve of things like giving children hormones. I do, for reasons that are easily researched, and I would hope if you know you have by now. Among others, but at the end of the day, you know, I am very good about not sticking my nose in other people's business. But as far as me and trans people, I've dated some. You see, not all of my life was religion and Israel and politics. In fact, most of it is not. Most people who know me know a very different element of my life. And what the hell, I might as well tell you. Where do I start? I would say from 2004 to 2018, to a certain degree, even 19, my life was interesting. I don't care if this gets out. Everybody who knows me, there's one thing that I'm going to get to in this video that I'm going to be plausible deniability-ish about, but you'll figure it out. I'm not going to use the actual noun, but beyond that, it'll be obvious. You met my son's mom. We had our child by that point, I believe. I believe Zvi was there at the time. I believe he was something like 2. We were freaks. There's no other way of put it. I had never, you know, we saw other people, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, it's weird. I would never recommend that to somebody. But I don't tell people what to do either. So I would never say, don't do it. I always give a very honest assessment of not only my experience, but the experience that I've seen and continue to see many people to have in those lifestyles. I say lifestyles plural because there's different terminologies, and I'm not a fan of the smorgasbord of terms for every little thing nowadays. It becomes narcissism, megalomania, and all that stuff. So I'm not going to use terms. I'll just be a little bit descriptive as I can. Oh, shit. Well, I'm having trouble figuring out where to start.
Now, I know that this is TV, so I'm gonna try to be as delicate as I can. Here goes, and may God forgive me.
So the reality about my life is that if if one of the rabbis I know, the one that I would say is mine, and then there's the whatever. If any of them went up to me and asked me a direct question, there's nothing I'm not going to just say. I don't, and it's not. This isn't just me. This is in Judaism too. I mean, I'm not saying everybody is an open book, but when we talk about our pre-religious past, it's not like it was when in the church, especially in the evangelical. That's my backsliding days, and I've set my ways right in the Lord. I've never heard that shit in the Jewish world. It's just that was my life then. This is my life now. And that's it. And it's cavalier like that, like I am with most things, you know. And it's not just me. This is the general. Somebody may not disclose something for PR reasons, but it's not like, you know, people don't hang out their dirty laundry. And if they do, it's not apologetically, unless it's something really bad, which, in my opinion, this is not, because nothing in my life ever involved non-consensual adults. And when you hear the word consensual adults, you already know, oh, fuck, maybe I should stop the video. But you introduced me to a lot of vocabulary yourself many years ago, so here we go. Between 2004 and 2018, give or take, I lived a lot of things that, for motives or lack thereof, or for motives that I might have had, I was a late starter with a lot of things in life, and that doesn't resonate very well with a male, especially when he's 26 years old and thinks, this is it for the rest of my life. And, well, let's start with the trans part. I dated a trans girl at one point, big black. She called herself Kiki. It wasn't a long ongoing thing, but we went out, and by go out, I mean. So as this woman, trans woman named Kiki, never forget this. It was about 2016, I think, late 16, early 17. Met her in a bookstore, and flirted with me. Top 10, like, definitely. She's not even being subtle, but she didn't actually just go out and say, let's finagle something. And I said dated. I mean, I don't remember going out for drinks or anything, but went straight to her apartment, and she had a really big black. Once I saw it, I'm like, I am never getting this. But I'm all like, I'm not backing out now. Pardon the pun. So I said to it all the way to the, like, it was as it was black. So Kiki, I mean, I'd actually been around that territory before, just not with a trans woman. So, you know, pulling down. The thing you got to remember about this is the last time I'd have to say it was bowl of cherries, trombone that you would have seen in a, like, you know, with a head. My point is that, you know, I don't want all my stories to be blue, because they're not, but blue term of a certain kind of nature, but I'll tell one more real quick. There was a trans woman in the goth community, clique, whatever you want to call it. I don't, for the life of me, I can't remember her name. Ian was Ian's name, and then Ian became something else. Hadn't gotten the chop yet, still went by Ian, but was very much a girl in every way. I was drinking a bit, and I made out with him. I don't remember which way Ian identified it, but it was hard not to call him her at the time. I had no problem making out with her in front of everyone who knew me and some extra people, and I'm surprised nobody's ever brought it up, but in a while. But this is like 2011. And why do I bring that up? I didn't bat an eye. Misty wasn't particularly happy when she found out because she worked with a lot of those people. So I was like, and this is 2011. We're not, I know this place, it was the Valley Ho is where it was, the New Times, or was it Backpage? Just right before they had split, New Times and Backpage, and then the whole scandal happened. And there was a bunch of her coworkers there. I was like, what? What? Apparently Ian was pretty pissed at me because I didn't go home with him, but he didn't ask. I'm sorry. I'm sexist. You could have invited me and said, hey, let's get out of here. I didn't remember what happened after that. Could have done anything with it. Who knows what would have happened. Even to this day, there's trans people I know when I go out and about, and there's one of them in particular, oh my God, breathtaking, and as far as I'm concerned, called Cleo. And we've had a lot of real talks, me and her, many times. And, I was talking to her one time. I'm like, we were talking about the whole how people are. I'm like, you probably have no idea what it's like for someone to misgender you, because it would never occur to anyone to do it. No, she doesn't 100% pass.
She doesn't quite pass, although she would for a lot of people that just aren't looking. But, I mean, she's not Blair White. But again, if it isn't for the voice and the height, nothing, there's no giveaway. I've never even seen an Adam's apple. I guess the important thing is that
the height, the voice, it does give her away. But every other element of, you would never think to. You wouldn't have an instinct to say, hey dude, what's that? You would never say him. You wouldn't. You don't have to be involved in the politics and all that. And I was telling her, look, some people don't need a cause, you don't. Nobody's going to treat you like a guy. It's just not going to happen. She goes, yeah, I know. Gorgeous girl. Nice girl, too. And a lot of them are not nice. That's not me. That's just my own experience. Nice enough, but on average. And then this is the nightlife, too. I'm not saying everyone in the world. But, no, not only do I not have a problem with them, I actually find many of them fascinating. I have a couple other stories too, but when it comes to this one in particular, I dote on Cleo every friggin' time. I'm not doing it. I'll tell stories about how I about how I dote on a girl with a or without one. It doesn't matter. That somebody has to actually get out in the field and see that for themselves, because I don't do it often either. So you got to be like one of those safari guys. We have been sitting here in the bushes trying to see how this guy dotes on girls. He doesn't do this very much, so it's got to be at the right time. It's just not going to happen much. But with her, if she's in the room, if you're close enough within proximity, you'll hear me do it. I can't help it. She's charming. She's gorgeous. Oh my God. My point in all this is you're not going to get some Glenn Beck speech out of me when it comes to your kids. If you ask me solicited, if your kid is your kid an adult now or not? If your kid's not an adult and is taking hormones and you ask my opinion, I'll tell you what I think of that for concern of the health of him. That's it. Other than that, and you have to ask. It has to be solicited. Other than that, that's about as, for lack of a better word, right-wing as you're going to get. I want to make another two-parter for this, but my computer's moving kind of slow, so...